So I got 7:16 in the morning. It's the 24th of April, 2018. It's Tuesday. They did another hit piece against me. They did it when I was in the kitchen between 6 and 7. Um, uh, and the thing is that they're trying to. This is for the FBI. They're claiming that this is real, like they're doing real squeezes. Like, I don't know my real viewpoints and emotional state in regards to all of this. It's ridiculous. Um, yeah, and then what will happen is the FBI will check. You will check that moment, and you'll say, "Well, it looks real to us." And the whole thing's it's they're squeezing something in, and it's text. It's their text. And then I said this even back with the agents and deets before I went back to America. I'm sure of it in one of my videos. Um, the problem was, and has always been, they keep erasing my memory. But the thing is, the whole thing's a hit piece. They're not squeezing me. It feels like they're doing a squeeze, but it's not mine at all. And on my end, I know this because it's not my viewpoints or how I feel about any of it. But this is the problem I ran into with the FBI back in America. And then the FBI's response was, "Well, you're not honest with yourself." Like I don't remember. That's absolutely ridiculous. Um, there's another lie that they're doing from this. Hang on, this one's important as well. This isn't it, but this is something I've been looking at too. Like, they're trying to sell I'm worried or something. That's a pile of shit. Um, I've got nothing to hide. My the only thing I can do is tell the truth, and then people don't want to believe me. Well, that's not my fault. It's my best defense is to tell the truth. I got kids going by here. Hang on. Their key concern is that when I go back to America, it's going to be obvious to the FBI that I'm totally done with this, just like I was in July, just like I was when I first came here. I thought, well, at least I've got 1 month, for the agents from Dietz to approach these agents here, and give them everything, and these agents, there's no question they're going to be having their schnapps moment, like if the Bacon were to find out this is real and true, and find out how heavily they fucked up, and that their file is full of bullshit about me, and that quite literally a ton of information is right there in the file in front of your face, and you don't even see it or realize it. Because this last agent was imitating Horvat. This is why it was such a windfall for Horvat and her officers. It was such a, they got tons and tons of information about how they're being investigated, because quite literally tons of it's right there in the file. And because this agent from Dietz was an absolute moron. This agent from Dietz has just treated me like I just got to do what they want, and that's it, period. In other words, they're torturing me, they're lying about me, they're backstabbing me, they're literally affecting me heavily all of the time, which is another key point. The Bacon and the FBI aren't even being told about how much I'm being affected in the file, which pisses me off even more. And then on top of it all, I'm being affected in front of Bacon agents. This is what they'll do here with Bizante for an end test, or at this place I got to be working at starting tomorrow. And, I speak out so that they can't get away with it, but everybody always lets them get away with it from the Bacon. It's stupid. The whole point of my speaking out is to avoid things, and instead everybody goes along with it, like my mother. How many times has this come up with my mother? How many times have I said to her at this point, the whole reason why I've been telling you this and this and that is to avoid and to keep it from happening in the first place. And, look at this shit my mom tells me on the phone. she's got no internet connection. And normally that would be a red flag while I'm speaking with her on the phone. Nothing came up. But then I'm thinking about this later, and I'm like, hang on, she's got a smartphone. She has to have an internet connection. She's telling me she's checking the weather. So, of course, she's got an internet connection. She has to. So, she's checking the weather because she does have an internet connection. And that was blatantly obvious all along here. Yet when I spoke to her on the phone yesterday, she brings that up. And nothing even pops up on my radar. That's impossible. That is literally impossible. Nobody can claim I was tired, no nothing. This is another point the Baekya doesn't know about, is how vigilant I am. So they have to affect me to keep me on a dumbed down level, which they've gotten away with selling. And then they're selling my real level as being technology, apparently. And that's something I was looking at back with Horvat, back when I was with my family at some point. Yeah, there's so much I could say here. The next point is I'll have to start writing this stuff down, because what they will do is just erase videos, So it's either that or I number them and I write down how long each video is and I keep that in my pocket, which is also safe. So they're looking for ideas what will erase parts of videos with, key damning points. You won't know the difference. Or there's something else they just squeeze right now, which is why I brought that up. Quite literally, they're getting ideas while I'm doing these videos. They're hitting me up with a squeeze for ways of lying and manipulating. But they are worried about my going back to America. The FBI is going to see I'm totally done with this. No, I'm not afraid. I'm telling the truth. So I've got nothing to be worried about, but the CIA has everything to be worried about, and they are. There's no question that these agents are in touch with the agents from Dietz, which gets me back to an earlier point. If I had gotten to think about this and being myself, I would have realized, well, they're going to go for in less than a month, to contact them right away. So, that's something I definitely would have got, I would have realized. And this is how it's played out. So you can claim that I'm realizing this after the fact. That's not how it is. I've run into this over and over and over. This has happened just tons and tons of times. I realize they're doing thought blocking. It's not just memory blocking, it's thought blocking. It's like I'll get to an important key point and then I can't even think about it. I can't think at all. It's impossible. This is what was going on constantly throughout 2013 and 2014 with Horvat. Then they take the technology programs off of me, and ta-da, I'm doing tons of videos. The Baekya thinks, oh, well, I'm worried for nothing, posting all these videos. I'm sure they're not even looking at the videos, and which gives the CIA plenty of time for burying points I bring up on video. So... And there's one other point that I wanted to bring up. Mom just walked by with her kids. I said good morning. There's another key point. It's something I keep wiping out. Thing is, if this comes up in real time, then they've got something to worry about. This is why I'm always delayed. I can never speak out about all sorts of points. And when I do these videos, they're spiking me, so I'm bringing up points that they want me to bring up. That's been going on the whole time as well. I'm not stupid about this. So, I don't begin to be. And that tells me, well, they're ready. These are points that they're ready for my bringing up. And it's stuff like this one point I can't remember right now. It's stuff like that they've got to worry about. Will the Baekya look at these videos? I don't know. If the Baekya here in Wuppertal is actually being objective, man, I laugh about that one. Even these CIA agents I deal with, they're totally guilty. And they're not objective in regards to all sorts of things here. So, and that's just a result of the psychology of the people I'm dealing with. Um, you know, they are quite literally. I'm picking up on all sorts of things of what they're up to, how they're lying. Yes, they are trying to sell me false leads in regards to what they're lying about, but actually the whole thing centers around the fact that they're doing a cover-up. They're doing an investigation of Horvat. That's what that's about. So, and as I've said, going all the way back before I went back in 2016, before I went back to America, they're lying to the side. I will state the truth, and I'll say it's about this, and then they say, no, it's for this reason here. And you keep believing them. The reason they're giving is the false reason. The Bakian never looked at that tape they stole from my flat. There's no argument to it. How do I know that? Because the CIA told me. People have to be absolutely stupid to think that I believe the CIA. The only time I believe them is when it's something that's true to begin with. And many times they're stating stuff I already know, and then they're saying we gave it to them. It's a point that I realized years ago or months ago or weeks ago. It's stupid. And then they say, oh, look, he believes us. No, they're just reminding me of something they wiped out from my memory. That's what that's about. And after they figured out a way of burying it. So, and that goes all the way back to when I was with my family. Yeah, that goes all the way back to when I was with my family. Horvat and our officers had tons and tons of points, which they couldn't bury. And this is why they delayed me they kept me from contacting agencies, quite literally for years. And what Horvat and our officers were doing is, in regards to certain points, they would begin a campaign for reversing me with technology, selling it as mine. And it was opposite of key points, which were against them. And, I watched this happen. I knew what Horvat and our officers were doing. The same thing's going on here. The same thing was going on with these agents in Dietz. And, they just keep me they keep me from speaking out so that they can bury the truth. Behind the scenes, and by the time I get to speak out, it's already buried. This is why I've been allowed to bring up all sorts of stuff on video. And I'm quite conscious about this. In fact, in regards to some things, even while I'm doing the videos, I'm aware of the fact that these are points that they are bringing up with technology. So, it's a mix of things. But of that, there's absolutely no question. I went through this in 2016 all of the time. So what happened with the FBI is that they would scratch past the surface. They're like, okay, we'll take a look here. And then they get an answer which they didn't like. They didn't like it because the whole thing's about them having been lied to and the real level of where the CIA was at. And again, for anybody, whether Bakia or FBI, you need to wiretap yourselves with technology to make sure you're not being spied on. This is a mistake the Bakia made, everybody made with Horvat and her officers. What would you expect them to do, given their circumstances, if what I'm saying is true, which it is? You go, wow, that's crazy and far out. No, it isn't. If you think about it, they've got no choice. So, and at the end of the day, they've got no way of getting Horvat out. I'm done with this. From my end of things, everything's totally neutralized. Horvat can't do anything. These agents can't do anything. All these agents want is just more information because they can't figure out what to do about Horvat to begin with. So they've got nothing better to do. They want me to hold their hand to continue to hold me in stalking. This is why they need voices, by the way. Continue to hold me in stalking and torture me and fuck me and my family while there's nothing I get out of this. Absolutely nothing. I don't want to give them information. Of course I don't. I'm not obsessive compulsive here. No, nothing. The last thing in the world I want is to be giving them information because there's no point to it. I'm done with this. They are the ones not done with this. And the Baekhyun is being lied to, and the FBI. So, once I get there. So, my mom's saying, why don't you go up to Hamburg? That's where you wanted to be, up by the coast. And, what's the point? What's the point? If I want my freedom, the only option I have is to go back to Horvat. So, because these agents aren't playing fair and square, and they aren't going to. Did they tell everybody all the mistakes they found that Horvat made and this last agent from Dietz? If they're telling, my best guess is they aren't. And they are giving some idiot version to agents and agencies. And why do I say that? Because I've been held in. This is why. So, and they're just not going to stop. They haven't tricked me into believing they're getting more information on Horvat. They're actually doing it. Somebody's coming. Hang on. They're actually doing it. That's rather the point. They could have played fair and square, and they didn't. So I just don't see that they're passing on all the mistakes that Horvat made, and these agents from Dietz. I don't see it, and they most certainly aren't passing it all on. I just don't believe that's possible. Then the Baekhyun FBI, they would be looking at stuff. Is this correct? And you'd find out you've got all sorts of incorrect answers. I don't believe it. It can be that they have, but all of it, I don't know about that. And it doesn't fit with them holding me in either, by the way. That's rather the point. There has been no playing fair and square, so all the way around it's a lie. It doesn't add up. That's rather the point. You at the Baekhyun, you don't know what's going on. What do I tell you? I'm affected all of the time. This is going in the file, and they're selling a false level here. I sent a diagram for agents and agencies back in 2014. You are believing in a false narrative. It's done with technology. This is why they keep doing these hit pieces with subliminal scripting, and they're literally scripting my response, which gets back to Bring It On. That's what they wanted, and that's why they didn't have the computer program set up any other way. And I tested this, and I busted them. They're attaching it to me, and then it's all outside in, inside out, where they're literally forcing answers from me with emotional states on me, not mine. And so they're texting stuff at me, and then they're literally just getting all fake squeezed answers, and within that also scripted answers, which is rather the point. And I'm picking up on this all of the time, and these agents know this. Anybody dealing with me will know this. So how they plan on getting past the FBI in regards to this is beyond me. The only thing they can hope for is that the FBI doesn't double check and cover their own ass. Their only safety, at the end of the day, no matter what, their only safety is that nobody looks and is stupid as the last FBI agents I dealt with. So, and you got to look at this from my viewpoint. The best thing for anybody to do is to tell agents and agencies what's going on and to go after Horvat and our officers. That's what the CIA needs to be doing. And because Horvat got away with a cover-up, they don't want to do that. They don't want to go near that. So, and as a result, they've got no solution. That's what that's about. Okay, I had to change location. Everybody's going to school, so I had to move here. Hang on. I've got to make this on within 5 minutes or it automatically cuts off. Hang on, I'm going to roll a cigarette. Have my last cigarette and coffee. And you got to keep in mind how obvious it is for me that I'm being affected with technology. Horvat wasn't even using my energy print most of the time. She's doing it on high extreme levels without my energy print, which made it absolutely blatantly obvious. She was doing this while she was lying to the Baekhyun. This was her way of rubbing in my face what she's doing and getting away with. This was going on for years and years and years on end. It's the same thing they were doing with Amber, and on and off with Monica. Mostly they would affect her with her energy print. But that said, she knew she was affected. There's no question about that. There are many stories I could bring up. I have brought up a lot of this on video, actually. So you have to understand the key thing here is now they're just doing all subliminal scripting, almost all subliminal scripting, and because they're worried about the FBI. But what the FBI will find out is, well, I'm good at catching the subliminal scripting. And again, that has to do with your real viewpoints and your real attitude and emotional states. So you're still being made opposite. So, you know, for the Bekia, it's ridiculous. You know what's yours and what isn't yours. The reality is, I passed in July of last year. I mean, there's absolutely no argument for anybody. And I think how this is going to play out. I think how this will play out for the FBI. I think what will happen here is that you'll be in disbelief of how I really was, my feelings and thinkings, and you'll be in denial that you were lied to. You know, of course, I don't know who I'm going to be dealing with. Nobody does, but that's what happened with the last agents. And instead of it being a red flag for agents and agencies, I mean, under any other circumstances, it would be. This is rather the point. You're just trusting people that are supposed to be your colleagues, and they're not. Under these circumstances, they are not. They're doing a cover-up. So, you know, what would you expect? They're not telling the truth, and I'm telling you they're not telling the truth. There's no argument to it. This is a good example of what I was speaking about earlier. You know, in 2016, I think it was 2016, might have been 2000, I think it was 2015. 2015 or 14, I believe. These agents, the agents from Dietz communicated to me were paid liars. And I use that in a video. That is what they are. They're trained liars. They're paid liars. And the reason why I use it is because that's the truth. That's what you need to be waking up to. They're agents lying to agents. Where'd you think this is going to be? This, quote, delusional, intelligent level that it is all on is actually the real level. I was saying this all the way back in 2012. I realized, well, everybody's thinks that the real level I'm pointing out is delusional, and I'm cleverly tricked into believing that. Man, that's a pile of shit. No, that's the fucking cover-up. This is what is going on, and that's the real fucking level. You are the ones in denial, not me. This is why I was saying to these last FBI agents, you're delusional. You're believing all this shit which doesn't begin to be real or true. And my real profile centers around reality to begin with, truth to begin with, and this is why I was so careful with Horvat. Again, how do I know the Bekia didn't look at journals which they replaced for Horvat? Absolutely amazing. The next point is I know those are not in your hands. They're in Horvat's hands. So, and again, if you'd looked, then this shit wouldn't still be going on. If you'd looked at the cassette you stole from Berlenbach, this shit wouldn't still be going on. How do I know this? I know it absolutely. Amazing, you know. So, and you know, how do I know that? Know that absolutely. You think, well, you're correct, but you got there just by wanting to believe it. No, I know it absolutely, and there's a reason why I state it that way. It's based on what's actually going on. There's tons of real information in the file which these agents have passed on, these agents from Dietz. There's tons of real information in there right in front of your face. This is how Horvat did her business. She just took it to the next level. You all believe something absolutely opposite about me. I've been affected heavily. and blatantly obvious on my end, and then you're believing it's mine. It's enough to burn anybody's ass. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. If you were made opposite with technology, you're absolutely, what do I say? Made opposite. Absolutely doesn't begin to be you. And then other people are believing it's you. And then furthermore, these are agents. Hello? And this is what I am telling you all the way up until 2013 when you went along with Horvat killing a third pet. I've got news for you. I was still forgiving with the Bekia here. You had no way of knowing. But at that point, that was it. The only reason why I speak out now is based on my circumstances. The same thing back when I was with these agents from Dietz. They were doing a cover-up. I did try passing, by the way, and they wouldn't let me go free. Repeatedly, this happened in 2014, 15, and maybe even 2016. Although at that point, I made up my mind just to go back to America. But the thing is, I had tried passing, and they continued to hold me in. They weren't telling the truth. And they lied to the FBI and said, oh, well, he's just speaking out all the time. That's a pile of shit. It's the same thing now. I'm forced into speaking out, which is what nobody understands. I have to. I've got no choice. So, I imagine that's why they're constantly affecting me, so I can't do journal entries. But they'll let me do video. And I don't think that's the only reason why. I don't begin to. As always, the Bekia has been tricked into going along with their cover-up. You're quite literally helping them. And I don't blame these agents here. You can't change things, but you can certainly be paying attention. And what I recommend is that people go start with year one. Horvat was affecting me heavily with our daughter. I thought I had a brain tumor. I'm not rewinding and reinventing the past here, which is another thing these agents have, everybody's gotten away with selling. That doesn't begin to be true. So again, you've been sold something that's totally opposite and balls to the walls false about my profile. I had nothing but accurate observations about Horvat in my journals. As soon as they would get an idea for getting away with lying, I would write it down. My journals were full with this. And then what I would see is that later, months later, sometimes, what they are doing is affecting me for burying a point I'd realized months before. So, and this shit's still going on. If I'm writing shit down in real time, you can see when they start lying about a particular point later. So there's nothing they can do about this. You can see where they get an idea for lying down the road. If I have it written down in real time. Well, they don't want this. They don't want it because this is what I'm stating is totally on the money. Everything they're selling, they're filtering through stalking. Again, I said this about Horvat. She would filter it through stalking to make it look like it's for stalking reasons, and in reality, it didn't begin to have to do with stalking reasons. None of this is about stalking. Again, everything I'm communicating here it's what I've been saying all along. There's stuff that I'm communicating in these videos I could have given to the BFL when I was in contact with them. Never got to. I mean, I've looked at this a million times. It has to be that they told the BFL I'm being affected heavily. But then, how do you know, which is rather the point. And then you're believing you're getting accurate information? I mean, I've looked at those emails. They're a mess. So, it's amazing. The performance of the Bekia here has been absolutely dismal. It's surreal. You are telling me that I don't know when I'm being affected heavily, which is you throwing common sense right in the toilet. That's what you're doing. You're telling me you rather believe that I am delusional. I don't know when I'm being affected heavily rather than you made a mistake. Well, that gets down to your egos and it gets down to this bullshit about, well, you've already investigated when clearly you haven't. David Icke would say, well, did you put a wiretap on him and his family and interview him and his family? Answer's no. Then he'd say, well, how do you know? He's saying that this has been about technology being misused and them lying about it to begin with. It's so stupid. It's absolutely incredible. And then you're running around telling people you don't know, and it's clear to anybody with a brain. Anybody that's not a dumb fucking monkey. So you got no argument. You have none. And I'm not stating that just because it's a good point. That's the truth. That's reality. I'm living it. So there's no argument to it. I'm pointing out the mistakes you made, which has led to this point in time here. And that's real basic, huge mistake right there. David Icke is a researcher. He'd say, well, then you don't know, and I can't state what you were saying as fact. So I couldn't do it. So that was one of the things I hit these agents with. I said, look, you think I don't know this or that? I'm has it occurred to you that I'm actually a researcher and a writer? That one goes right out the window for everybody. You see this in my second book, The Shit with the Russians. Boy, years ahead of time on my end. So on one hand, I'm good, but on the other hand, I'm an idiot. No, I'm good, and all sorts of shit here where you've been sold I'm an idiot. It's technology for getting away with selling that in the first place. Don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe how much I've been affected and you've been lied to. That's another key point. And I've run into that one with everybody. Which is why I've said, what I go through is way, way more than what's in your file. My being affected with technology. And it's going on every fucking day. They're altering my emotional states every day. Many times they're just doing it for hit pieces for the FBI. So, and again, they're selling a false narrative. All of this is standard operational procedure. It's being done by agents for agents, and yet agents can't wake up to this. With somebody in the middle of it pointing it out to them. It's mind-boggling. All right, so I think I'm going to end here. Finish my cigarette and switch back to the e-cigarette here and coffee. That's another thing that's been going on that affected me in the drinking and smoking. I already stated on one video, I'm already sick of the drinking, so yeah, so we'll see how things turn out here. I state that because I don't know if they're telling the truth about that or not either. I mean, they're always using drinking as an excuse for a cover story for affecting me and getting away with it. So, all right, I'm going to end here.